Hey everyone, Disappointed Giant here. So today, I'm going to be your financial advisor. The idea for this video, like a bunch of my others, was inspired by a viewer's comment. Shout out to Karis for President for asking a pretty straightforward question that turned into me hypertyping and info dumping a huge response. That exchange gave me the rough outline for this script, so here we are. This brief video is going to focus on some of the money management strategies that I personally use, so as always, your mileage may vary if your playstyle or preferences differ than mine. There are no hard rules here, this is just my 2 cents. So let's grab our credit card, dig out last year's W-2s, and let's see if we can streamline our spending. Before we get into things, I'd advise you to unlock all of the gold reserves upgrades from the collector. Gold reserves allows you to keep some money after completing or losing a run. That small sum of cash can help get your build online a bit earlier. If possible, get your gold reserves all the way up to level 5. This doesn't automatically show up in the collector's menu after purchasing level 4. It requires a blueprint that can be found in the ancient sewers after you beat 0 BC and get the homunculus rune. I'll put a link to my secret blueprints video below so you can see how to get that blueprint if you haven't yet. My first piece of advice is to use as much of the free stuff as possible for as long as possible. I advocate for people to try everything, so hopefully you're comfortable with the items that you've unlocked so you can use whatever gear comes naturally through chests, altars, and random drops. Whatever you don't use can be recycled. If you're not used to trying everything that you have unlocked, this might be a good time for you to dust off those flashing fans or take the nutcracker off the shelf. Recycling items for a few $100 here and there might not seem like a lot at first, but you'll start to pile up some nice savings after a biome or two. I generally try to save up my money during the first third of the game until I have 20,000 gold so I can pivot to a food shop and grab an extra flask if I need to. If this isn't feasible for you, or if you'd rather spend some money here and there along the way, it might be worth making sure you have at least 4,000 gold in your pocket so you can buy the large food from the food shop if you need it. When it comes to spending money, I usually won't buy new gear until either Prison Depths or Corrupted Prison, but I'll try to hold off until after the first boss if I can, especially if I'm confident that I can get the Flawless and the free Legendary. Sometimes I'll see something in a shop that has great affixes or fits especially well with my build, so I'll bend the rules and make a purchase or two in those instances. As far as shop scaling goes, the cost of gear in shops doesn't increase as you get further in your run. So let's say you wanted to buy a level 4 heavy crossbow in the prisoner's quarters. If you were to buy a level 12 heavy crossbow from a shop in the cavern way later in your run, the base price between these two would be the same even though the cavern item's gear level will be 3 times higher. Couple that with the fact that you'll likely have more money to spend later in your run than you do in the beginning, and you can probably see why I feel like I'm overspending if I buy something early on. In a similar vein, I would say to space out your purchases every couple of biomes if you can. Buying something in every level is a prime way to go bankrupt fast. If you do choose to purchase something from the shop, regardless of what biome you're in, I recommend waiting until after you clear the map. The footage I'm showing here is legitimate RNG, and I did not blame this out. The Bloodthirsty shield I get for free in the chest even has almost all of the same affixes as the one as the shop. I could have saved 10,000 gold if I just waited. You never know when the exact item you're looking for might happen to pop out of a chest or show up on a legendary altar. The gear level of items you find will be lower than the items that you buy, but in most cases, the extra level or two isn't worth the price differential of all that gold. At this point in your Dead Cells journey, hopefully you're using your rerolls and item choices to help line up your synergies and get stacks of extra damage. If not, I recommend checking out the part of my mid-game tutorial where I go into detail on how to best understand what synergies are and how to use them. I'll link that below in the description. While synergies are really important to keep in mind, I don't think it's worth dropping a ton of money to try to get bonus damage to line up. Unless I'm looking for something really specific, like Toxic Cloud on a trap or plus 100% to burning oil on an oiled sword, I'll only roll once or twice to see if I can get some extra bonus damage. If I have a ton of money saved up towards the end of the game, I'll re-roll with Reckless Abandon until I either get what I want or I get close to it. If your pockets aren't loaded with coin, then it might be better to stop after 1 or 2 re-rolls so you can put more of that gold towards buying a higher quality item in a later biome. If you're going to reroll your mutations, I recommend doing so when your build is starting to shift or if there's something special that you want for a specific biome or boss. But I don't recommend doing it before and after every boss. The first mutation reroll costs 1,000, the second 2,000, third is 4,000, and then every reroll after that is 8,000. If you were to reroll your mutations before and after both the Concierge and Timekeeper fights, that would cost you a total of 15,000 gold. Sometimes I'll end up going into a boss fight with some mutations that might be a dud just so I can save some money on the other side. Something like Hunter's Instinct is pretty useless in boss fights, but if I have one or two other mutations that will get me through the fight, like support or disengagement, I won't roll Hunter's Instinct off and will just push ahead. You may find that your playstyle benefits from frequent mutation changes, so use your best judgment and budget balancing when it comes to this. Outside of actually spending your money, one of the things I highly recommend you get used to doing if you haven't yet is to kill every enemy in every biome. There are some exceptions to this, like if you're specifically going for the time door or if you're running low on flasks and want to get to the fountain room as soon as possible. All enemies drop gold and some will drop a random item. And elite enemies will always drop something chunky, like an amulet or a higher quality item. If what drops doesn't fit in your build, or if the amulet is off color or doesn't have any jumps on it, you can just recycle it for some extra income. Also, if you're killing everything, you have a good chance to get that 60 door if the biome has it. Inside that door is some extra money and high quality gear that has a fair recycling value. If you're playing on 5BC, it may feel challenging to slow down and cover more of the map since your melees will be ticking up, but regardless of what difficulty you play on, I think it's a good idea to wipe those maps clean. If you haven't turned on secret outlines in the accessibility mode menu, I recommend doing that now. I've mentioned this in a couple of my other videos before, so I might be getting a bit redundant, but this is such a great visual to ensure that you're maximizing your resources. There are a lot of gems hidden in the floors and walls, and enabling this setting will help make sure you don't miss anything along the way. As an extra bonus, this will also highlight challenge rifts, so you might find yourself grabbing some extra scrolls and a bunch of cells through the rifts. And finally, this falls a little bit outside of my normal style of advice, but if you're on 0BC, there's a way to easily make a bunch of money every time you leave a biome. You'll need the Midas blood mutation for this, which is dropped from the gold gorgers in the bank. This mutation gives you 1.6 gold for every health point you lose. The trick here is to clear the level out and then take a bunch of trap damage before exiting the level. The lava in the caverns or the spikes in the clock tower are two good examples of this. You can use the traps to take a bunch of damage, get a bunch of gold, heal up, and then repeat until you're out of flasks. You can then leave the level, drink from the fountain to get all of your flasks back, and then repeat the exploit in the next level. This is best done on 0BC since there's a guaranteed full refill after every biome, but on 1BC there are still a few fountains, and on 2BC you get one guaranteed flask refill after every level, so you can still use this trick on higher difficulties to get some extra money here and there if you can plan ahead with your heals. So congratulations, you are now flush with cash. As your financial advisor and trustee, I hope that these tips will help you better manage your gold if you've been noticing that you've been running low or been finding it challenging to balance your spending. Feel free to post a comment if you have any other money-making or money-saving tips that I didn't mention here. I'll pin whatever comment I think would be the most helpful for the community. Now that you have a few extra bucks, go have some fun and don't spend it all in one place. As always, thanks for watching, and good luck out there.